Hey game makers, this is a guy called Joe. Welcome to part 3 of our 10-part series where we're going to go through the Infinite Jumper ebook that we released back in April. If you haven't gotten the ebook already, you can do so by going to blog.ourcade.co. You're going to see a way to sign up for it on the homepage, but if you want to learn more information about it, we have a dedicated landing page where we'll talk about the things that you can expect to find in it, as well as the things that you're going to learn. If you are interested in an EPUB version of it, we also have that. You'll find the links over there. But if you haven't gotten this book yet, it's absolutely free. You should absolutely do it. All we need is your email address, and we'll email you the ebook. So diving into it, in the last part, we went ahead and added in the background layer to it. We added some more code for the preload and the create. We talked a little bit about object-oriented programming as well as classes. We talked about Kenny and his free assets, which we'll be using in this Infinite Jumper game, which is the Jumper Pack. We downloaded that as well and also added it to our, code base or repository, whatever you want to call it. So in this section, we're going to be going over creating platforms. So if you look at the overview here, we're going to add Ourcade physics, physics-enabled platforms, and then adding multiple platforms. Sounds like fun, right? Let's dive into it. So the goal of an Infinite Jumper. You ever played Infinite Jumper games? As a little guy, and he just jumps and then hits platforms and he keeps jumping, and the whole point of the game is to get as high as possible and get a higher score as you keep going up. Really fun, really addictive, and as Infinite stands for, it doesn't end until you lose. So the first thing here is we're going to want to add platforms. So just like we did for the background, where we loaded up the background with the BG layer 1, we're also going to do this.load.image, and then we'll call this platform. And which one is this? Ground grass assets / ground grass.png. Okay. So yes, that does look familiar. If it doesn't look familiar, go back to part 2 and then come back here and then it'll be familiar. Just kidding. It'll take a little bit of time to get familiarized with it. Like anything else, it just takes time, practice. So now the next thing, if you remember with the background where we created it, we also need to do the same thing with platform. So let's go over to the create function and do add.image, and we'll put it in the same position. So if you remember 240 by 320, 320, not 420, 420, April. Blaze it. We are going to put the platform into the center of the screen because images are focused on the center of it. That's the, the pivot point? I don't know, terminology. But it's on the point sections are in the middle of it. So you want to have the screen width and height so that you perfectly center it. So we save this and we should open up our live server. If you remember the shortcut, Command L and then Command O, and that will open up your live server. Close that out. Let this load. Boom, got the background loaded and then the platform loaded. The platform is really big, but that's okay. We'll probably have to fix that. Yeah, that's exactly how it looks. So a couple of problems. Platform is huge. That's what I said. And secondly, it's just an image about physics. All right, so this by changing the scale like this. So set scale 0.05. So we're going to have it. So dot set. This is also why having types, that phaser.d.ts file is so helpful. Set scale dot 0.05. Okay, so that's having it. We save that. This would load up again. And boom. Half the size, much better. Alright, adding physics, adding Ourcade physics. So, a few options for physics. We're going to use Ourcade physics. I don't even know what the other ones are, but it sounds great. Super Tommy knows what he's talking about. This is the simple way to do it. We will do this way. So we're going to go into the main JS file where we're adding everything else. We're going to do physics, and then we're going to do default is Ourcade, and then Ourcade. So we're going to set the gravity. It's an object. Y is 200, and then debug is true. Okay, so we have all that. That looks good. Save it. Let's go here. Hot reload. Thing. I don't think anything was supposed to change anyway, so that makes sense. So the physics properly will also enable debug to see the collision boxes. Okay. So add a physics enabled platform. We have the Ourcade physics, and we need to create physics enabled platforms. Okay, so we're going to replacing the platform image with this thing. Interesting. So we'll go back to game. So here in the create function, let's put this underneath here. Actually, let's comment this out, command, and then backslash. We'll comment that guy out. We're going to do this dot physics dot add dot static, static image. Okay, and then it has to be X and Y. So this is so great. It tells you all the documentation. It's right at our fingertips. We did 320 by, right, was it 320? Hold up. 240 by 320. 240 by 320, and then decode was platform. Is that right? Texture string. Okay, great. Okay. So to change the game scene, you should see the platform fall off the screen. Actually messed up. I think I went ahead of the game here. Let's go back here and then just do image. Save that. Alright, gotta set the scale too. Set scale to 0.5. Let's save that. Let's see how that works. Load up and goodbye. Okay. Alright, so what is this static image thing we're talking about? We actually want our platforms to stay where they are. This is known as static physics body. Ah, okay. So that explains the other part, why it wasn't moving before. So static image. But we want a bunch of platforms. So let's care of both by using physics.add.static group. Ew. Interesting. So if we're adding multiple. Oh, look at this. Okay. So let's comment this out as well, so we don't need it. We're going to do const platforms equals this dot physics add dot static group. This is a for loop. If you don't know for loops, you can go read about it. There's a lot of documentation online about looping. So do const x, and that's creating a variable x, or setting x to phaser.math between 80 by 400. Const y 150 times I. Okay. So this guy here, let's copy this line over here, over const platform equals platforms dot create x comma y platform. Okay, then we're going to take platform and then we're going to set the scale to 0.5. Right. At that end, const body equals platform dot body dot update from game object. Okay, what does all this mean? Who knows yet? Alright, so let's read up. First, you create a static group, assign it to the platform. To make sense, we do a for loop, create 5 platforms in a random position. So that's the X part with the math between. So we'll set it along the left and right, and then Y is just it'll set it higher and higher by 150 pixels higher. So we set the scale to 0.5 like we did before, and then notation between that are JS doc annotations. And apparently we don't have to worry about them, so great. Last thing is the call from update from game object. So refresh the physics body based on any changes you made to the game object, like position or scale. Okay, so it should look like this. Let's save it and take a look at our live server. Live server is rendering. Nice. So it did its thing, right? Started out at the bottom, then 150 up, 150 up, 150 up, 150 up, and 150 up. Okay, so we're using random values, so it's a little different from his, or Super Tommy's, but look good. So we have properly sized platforms that stay in place. Wow, we did a lot here. Next step is creating a player, but that is going to be in the next part, part 4. So this is the end of part 3. We've done a lot. We added platforms to it, and then we added in a arcade physics. I haven't added any colliders yet, but we did add in static images or static groups, and we've repeated it so that we're creating 5 platforms at once with varying positions on the x-axis and a regular interval for the y-axis, which is great. I mean, we're starting to really look like an infinite jumper, right? Next thing we need is add a character, which is the next part. We'll just have to make sure that character continue going up and keep adding more platforms. So as you can see, it's already kind of shaping up. We're only finished with part 3 here, so lots more to come. If you run into any problems, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can either tweet us at OurcadeHQ, or you can leave some comments in the below boxes. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification. This is part 3. We have 7 more parts in this 10-part series. You're going to want to get notified as the next part gets uploaded and released. So once again, thanks for joining. I will see you in the next video.